Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and I got this P error message on my Rainbird system. And so when you look that up, that means the P/MV circuit has too much current, meaning a stuck valve or a problem with the wiring. And I was able to fix both of my circuits that were doing this the same way. And so I'll show you that first. It's a free way to do it. And then you can move on to, replacing valves and all that if you're still having problems. But when you open up the valve box that has the valves for your sprinklers, you can twist the tops of these, and you want to do it carefully. You don't want to over crank them either, maybe a quarter of a turn, just enough for the sprinkler to come on. And then you turn it back to the right clockwise to turn it back off. And so cycling it seems to help. And there's also a smaller one, a little valve here that does virtually the same thing. And in my case, simply by turning this on and off a few times and cycling the sprinklers, it seemed to break up whatever was holding these sprinkler valves from coming on. So that's what I was able to do to fix it. And I'll show you a few other things that I did to diagnose it, but maybe you can try that one first, and hopefully you'll have as much luck as I did. So the next thing I would say is to go turn the power off for the sprinklers so that you're not going to have any power here. And underneath the cover here, we're going to go ahead and take out a little battery, because there is a little battery that maintains the programming. So if you get the error, sometimes the only way to get rid of the error is to replace it. And so we're going to go ahead and take a screwdriver here, and we're going to take out the screw where it says battery, and we're going to come in here and we're going to just slide this tab down. Now, it might be different on different Rainbird programmers. On mine, it was a little watch battery like this is what it looked like. And so you want to take that out all the way and give it a few minutes so that the programming can erase. And so sometimes simply just by pulling the battery out and turning it off, turn it back on kind of thing will work. And so we're going to go ahead and restore power to it. And you'll know that it had reset to its factory limits when you go to turn it on, and notice that the date and everything is way off from where it was. So this, for example, says 2013. Next, we're going to have to go through, unfortunately, and reset everything in the start times, the run times, and everything just to kind of get it going. So don't put too much effort into it, just probably enough to get it started. So we went ahead and started watering here. And so I had told you what worked first in the beginning of the video, just so you can try that first. But at this point, I hadn't yet turned the valves by hand or anything. And so I was still getting the error code on the second station by only resetting the system. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was come in here, and if you look, it will show you the stations and what color each of the wires are for each of those stations. And so if you come over to the valve box and open it up, you should be able to find that color that's been turned into the same wiring for that valve. So in this case, number 2 is a green one. So I found the green wire here, and so now I knew which station that was. Again, went in, turned the power off. I was prepared to strip the wire down and rewrap it. You examine the wire everywhere to see if there's any breaks in it, if an animal has chewed it or anything. This one actually looked really good. I didn't see any problems with it. Still had some nice grease on it too for moisture. And it looked really good, so I just put this one back together how it was. But you want to inspect any wiring that might have a short or a cut in it. So next, what I wanted to do was come in just for diagnostic reasons, and I was going to take number 2 and switch it with number 1. So that way, if the problem now goes, if the problem now stays on station number 2, then we know that it's a problem that even with maybe the electronic board or something with the controller, if it follows it to now station number 1, we know that it's not a problem with the controller or anything, but the actual valve. So I then went through and manipulated the time and everything so it would just come on very soon to see if it would work. And sure enough, I was getting now an error code, but it was on station number 1. So that means that it definitely followed it over, so I knew it was more the valve that was probably bad rather than the controller itself. And on this system, the rest of the sprinklers will just keep going off as normal. The one that's in question it'll skip it, so that's kind of how you can tell. But in the end, just after turning the valves on and off, like I showed in the beginning of the video, it worked just fine, and I'm not getting any more error problems with it. But if you were at this point and still were getting error codes, then you probably will want to change out the actual valve itself. So for this, you're going to want to go to the main water source at the street and make sure you turn that off. And so you can come in here with this tool and just turn it until these two holes connect to each other, and that's how you'll hear the water shut off. But you won't have water in the rest of your home or anything for now, just to be aware of that until this is resolved. So unless you have an independent way to turn off your water sprinkler system, of course, you're going to want to go in and turn the power supply off because you'll be dealing with some wiring. And I would turn the valve on manually just to bleed the valve so that there's not a lot of water pressure that's in there as you're working with it. And then from here, I won't go into it too much in this video. There's other ones out there if you want to find one. But basically where these arrows are pointing, you would just go around on this portion of it, take those screws out and pull the diaphragm off, and then replace it with the new one or whatever you would need to do. So anyway, that I haven't had to get into that step luckily at this point. Just check the video description, and if I ever end up doing it, I'll make a video on that too. And I'll try to put some video links in the description as well that would show this process that other people have done. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and check the video description for another playlist that's videos just like this. Thanks, guys.